Namaskar and warm greetings. Welcome to the fourth episode of the webinar series Social Sector Samvad by SPJIMR's Center for Innovation and Sustainable Development, or CISD for short. Today, I'm delighted to introduce another faculty colleague of mine in SPJIMR, Vinita Dwivedi. In the webinar today, she will cover an equally important topic that has great relevance across sectors, but even more so for the development sector. The topic is the power of storytelling, creating compelling narratives for the social sector.
Thank you, Prabhat. It is indeed a privilege to be here today in this webinar for CISD, which is a center which is very dear to me and is also kind of keeping the flag of sustainability and innovation high at SPJIMR. We are very proud of the work that is going on at CISD. And it's a very unique opportunity for me to address so many people here in this webinar today and introduce the idea of storytelling for the social sector. Are trying to communicate in your jobs, and especially in the social sector, a lot. I think it's part of everybody's KRA, everybody's job demands or needs, whether you are in any position that you need to talk to people, your stakeholders, your donors, your the people that you're trying to approach. There sometimes you're trying to do interventions that are very difficult for us to convince people about what you're doing and how you're doing. And yet it doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes there's lack of clarity. Maybe people are not interested. You've got an excellent solution in hand for sustainable use of water in the area, but the community is disengaged. They're not interested. They sometimes do not trust our idea. Sometimes the trust is not with the idea, but with the person. Or I think simply many a times the problem remains that we are not able to articulate ourselves very well. And this is a common communication problem. And we're saying, can we address this all compounded with a bigger problem that we have a problem with attention spans? I just wanted the audience to kind of be with me and I can just see that whether what I'm saying is making sense to you or do you agree with it or not. But if you just Google search, or if we don't even have to go to the internet to look for this, actually, we all know that if we are constantly, when we are scrolling on our social media, we look at a video or we look at a story or we look at somebody's post and we just quickly glance through it and then move forward. Now, on the one hand, there is anyway lack of clarity in communication and we are not able to articulate ourselves. Well, people are not trusting us. On the other hand, people don't want to read us. They have no time to spend on what you want to say. And yes, we can say that humans may not have the attention span of a goldfish, not in seconds. But do you know how long we tend to watch a video or a reel or a story for? What is the maximum, but not maximum, average length of our attention on social media these days? Anybody? Yeah, I know, Anand. So the goldfish example is just to exaggerate the effect of the fact that we don't have attention span. You know, again, it's a metaphorical use of the idea of goldfish. But the fact is that we have very little attention span. So it's about, I would say, roughly speaking, about, less than 2 minutes, Nitya. I think it's less than 2 minutes. Mostly, if you look at your feeds, if you do a social media review, you will see that people watch things for less than 2 minutes and move on. And that there's a reason why Instagram Reels, for instance, are either 90 minutes or 60 minutes only, 60 seconds or 90 seconds only. So they have figured that out. Having said that, my point is that true? Is that really true? Don't take my word for it. Here comes storytelling. Have you been watching any web series and binge watched it? Anybody? Or watched a movie and then suddenly you realize, it's been 2 hours, I've been watching a film and what? I have not answered my email. Yeah. You see, human beings have an infinite capacity to be lured by the beauty of stories. We get stuck or sucked with good stories. So let us look at some elements of storytelling. And the storytelling is a very vast ocean. And in terms of technique, in terms of usability, in terms of how you can do something with it, it will take hours. Kishan, yes, the one that we mentioned here is poetics, and the other is called the art of rhetoric. That's the art of public speaking also. And you can find these things online because they are such old books anyway. And you'll find lots of meaningful things about what he said. So I'm going to start giving you some examples now. Now, if you look at the slide in front of you, everybody, please read the two messages, A and B. And you can tell me which message works for you better. And the chat is working, huh, everyone? If you want to use the chat also, it's working. Excellent. So Nidal and Anuradha and Nimisha, Vartika says, they all say A is working. Sashi likes B. Danu likes B, okay. A works for Anant and Sulekhna also. Right. So as we can see, I think we should use a webinar like this to get a lot of good data also and actually do some study and understand why some people like B. So Anu, like you said, it gives you an idea of scale, or Ashwini does too. But actually, this is an actual study. It is called the Rokia study, which was done in Wharton and by a professor called Deborah Small. And you can find the link to that study online and you can read more about it. And they actually found that when we give, so it's the same thing, right? We're talking about the problem of food or hunger in Zambia. But when we use a particular story of a particular person or a girl and we make her the face of the crisis, then the impact is far more and more people are drawn to that message which is specific rather than generic. It is like human beings are not able to so we know this. It's also when I do my negotiations class, I say this is just framing. How do you frame a problem? But when we are talking about Rokia, then we are giving a story spin to the same issue, the same problem. Of course, they could be padding about more information in terms of the size of Zambia, the problem of rainfall deficit, and so on. But here you see that the A paragraph actually makes far more sense, and you can read more about it online. This study by Deborah Small from Wharton. So Rokia becomes what we call an identifiable victim, and her personal story, focuses on her plight and not of other famine victims, but it is far more likely to generate charitable donations than more dispassionate descriptions of unnamed statistical victims like those in the paragraph B, according to Deborah Small. Any comments on that, people? Okay. We have a quick look. Yes, Sashi, that's right. So Nitya, B works. It's not like B is wrong or right. We are just saying that when we send it out to people, which is more influential? Yeah, the impact, Ashwini, is like you're saying that the impact of A is far better than of B when the story is told in the form of the sector, I think, is helped by the use of social media. I think social media is one of the best inventions for when it comes to CSR or any kind of social work because of the scale that it allows us and how we are able to reach far more people. Ritvika is absolutely right. This was done specifically in fundraising, and in fundraising, APE works far better. So, okay, all right. So let's just do some case studies now. So, I mean, Rokia and Zambia seems too far. Let's look at a story of our Dabbawalas. Now, I don't know how many of you are from Bombay or joining from Bombay, but I'm sure you must have, at least you would understand that the whole business of Dabbawalas depended on the fact that people were going to offices, right? They deliver lunch boxes to people who are working from their homes to the offices. Now, when there was a lockdown and such a huge and long lockdown, you could imagine what must have happened, right? They completely lost their livelihoods. Now, take a moment to think about it. How could this story be told? Well, we don't have to think too much because somebody just did think about it, and not just, in fact, during the time of the lockdown only. And it was used to do some CSR because we know Dabbawalas, story of one Dabbawala, Anuradha, and I'm going to show you the example of that Dabbawala once. Share my screen. Share sound as well, so you can hear it. And let me know if there's any problem in the video or the sound.
मेरा नाम सीताराम रामभाऊ शिंदे। मैं मुंबई के हजारों डब्बे वालों में से एक हूं। हम लोग अक्खा दुनिया में बहुत फेमस है। चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, घर का गर्मा गर्म खाना ऑफिस तक पहुंचाने की जिम्मेदारी हमारी है। पिछले 130 साल से हम आपके साथ एक रिश्ता निभाते आ रहे हैं, डब्बों से बंधा रिश्ता।
काका आप
शहर में चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, हमारी डब्बों वाली साइकिल कभी ना रुके, हम कभी ना झुके। पर मैडम, इस कोविड ने हमारी जिंदगी बदल दी और मुंबई का डब्बे वाला बिना डब्बे के दिखने लगा। तो बस इस चिट्ठी के बहाने थोड़ा सा वक्त हमने अपने डब्बों के साथ बिता लिया। बरं, काळजी घ्या। तुमचा काका।
जिन्होंने सारी जिंदगी फर्ज निभाया, घर का खाना हमारे ऑफिस तक पहुंचाया, अब वक्त है उनके लिए कुछ करने का। तो आइए साथ दें आईटीसी की इस पहल में। लॉग ऑन करें akshaypatra.org पर और ऑर्डर करें बास्केट ऑफ केयर अपने डब्बे वाले साथियों के लिए।
So you see, it's not just the Dabbawalas. Now that story has been used for ITC, as well as Akshapatra. Thank you, Anuradha and Manisha, you liked it. But I'm saying that we are from a business school. You have to see that how it is used. This story is used so effectively to convey the message of for ITC, huh? And as well as for Akshapatra, and it becomes something that we can still talk about and use it.
And maybe you could combine them. One of them is around literature that can guide guide people towards good storytelling. This is from Abdul Rafiq. And Anuradha says that for a small organization to use storytelling towards fundraising, what kind of support would they need?
So literature is obviously, I would recommend that is the best place to go and hunt for stories, because they give us ideas, or it gives us ideas all the time. And somebody said already in the chat that words are important. So to tell a story, you will have to think of it and probably write a script. And that script will need vocabulary. It will need words. So literature enriches our vocabulary. It gives us the right kind of metaphor, the right kind of words to choose, the metaphors to choose, and also gives us ideas. And the third, which may sound far-fetched, but actually it improves our empathy. Reading literature improves our empathy. So our ability to look at problems in an empathetic way also gets enhanced by reading literature. The next one was for a Upanishad.
Small organization fundraising.
Who should it go to? In an overall, every small organization, also you said it. Who should it go to? I think it's important for us to identify, you're right, that who is this audience? Now, is your fundraising, what does your organization do? I don't know. Oh, to create stories. Okay, right. I would say that you should try and develop that skill yourself. I mean, you can always go to creative agencies, big marketing agencies, who can create stories for you, or messages for you, or videos for you, etc. But they might be very expensive. I think it's a skill. It builds over time, and there are lots of different techniques to do it. One is to remember that it is a technique. To remember that is one of the best techniques to convey information and communicate things. And two is to then develop and build that skill. But you can do it.
So CISD in SPJIMR is indeed delighted to bring knowledgeable faculty like Vinita Dwivedi to participate in this effort to reach out to NGOs and to help them succeed in their efforts.